Sosuke Aizen isn't just a fan-favorite villain. He's a character who left an undeniable mark on Bleach and arguably the entire shonen genre. While many antagonists rely on brute strength and chaotic energy, Aizen takes a different route. He's composed, intelligent, manipulative, and always one step ahead. But what exactly makes Aizen so compelling? Why do fans continue to dissect his actions, motivations, and philosophy long after his arc concluded? In this video, we'll break down Aizen's character across 4 dimensions: his betrayal at the Soul Society, his methodical manipulation of other characters, his unsettling calm and psychological dominance, and finally, his flaws. Because even near-perfect villains have weaknesses. By the end, we'll consider whether Aizen meets the criteria of a perfect villain. Aizen's betrayal during the Soul Society arc is one of the most memorable moments in Bleach. Up to that point, he was portrayed as a soft-spoken, highly respected captain, kind even. So when it's revealed that he faked his own death and orchestrated events from behind the scenes, it felt like the ground shifted beneath the viewer. What made it effective was the subtle build-up. There were no exaggerated warning signs, no hints of unhinged behavior. His calm demeanor made him invisible, and that invisibility gave him power. By the time his betrayal was exposed, Aizen had already manipulated dozens of high-ranking figures, eliminated Central 46, and secured the Hyogoku. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment betrayal. It was a long-term strategy. Every moment, every interaction, every silence, all carefully calculated to maintain control and escape suspicion. What sets Aizen apart from typical villains is that this actor wasn't driven by revenge or desperation. It was driven by ideology. He wanted to break the established order not out of rage but because he genuinely believed the world needed to be reshaped and that he was the only one fit to do it. The betrayal didn't just shift the tone of Bleach, it reframed the entire narrative. For many fans, this was the point the series matured, because the enemy wasn't just strong, he was already inside the system. One of Aizen's most terrifying traits is how he manipulated others, not through brute force or fear, but through psychological leverage. Nearly every major player in the Soul Society was used as a piece in the larger plan, and most of them never realized it until it was too late. Take Momo for example, a loyal subordinate who viewed Aizen as a mentor. He exploited her devotion, knowing it would emotionally destabilize those around her, especially Hisugaya, Jin, and Tosen. Both pawns in different ways, one a calculated ally, the other a tool for execution. Even Ichigo's growth, which seemed like a natural evolution of the protagonist, was in part anticipated by Aizen and allowed to proceed because it served his greater goal. Aizen's intelligence is often compared to that of a chess master, but that's not quite accurate. Chess pieces follow set rules. Aizen was playing a chess where he made the rules. He didn't just anticipate moves, he manipulated people into thinking their choices were their own. He also had a deep understanding of institutional systems. He knew the political blind spots of the Soul Society, exploited the bureaucracy, and used the rigid traditions of the Goatee 13 against themselves. That's not just manipulation, that's structural subversion. What makes his manipulation chilling is how quiet it is. There's no dramatic flourish, just calm precision. And by the time people realize they've been moved, it's already checkmate. Aizen's personality plays a huge role in his dominance as a villain. Unlike most antagonists who lose control, lash out, and act erratically under pressure, Aizen remained composed. That composure creates a psychological power that's often more intimidating than physical strength. Whether he's facing down multiple captains or mocking Ichigo's progress, he speaks and moves with deliberate confidence. He doesn't rush. He doesn't over-explain. This transparency in his behavior suggests a man who's already accounted for every possible outcome and doesn't see any of them as a threat. His Zanpakuto, Kyoka Suigetsu, amplifies this effect. It creates complete sensory illusion, making opponents question their own reality. And the secret part? Aizen rarely needs to use it. The mere possibility that someone could be under its influence is enough to destabilize even the strongest warriors. That's psychological warfare at its highest level. When fear becomes a weapon in of itself, Aizen doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need theatrics. His words cut because they are calm and clinical. What makes it more compelling is that this isn't a mask. It's who he is, a man so convinced of his superiority that emotion is unnecessary. And that's unsettling. In a genre where power often equates to emotional, fueled transformation, Aizen stands apart. He embodies the idea that control of itself, of others, of perception is its own kind of power. No character is without flaws, and Aizen is no exception. In fact, it's his flaws that ultimately bring his arc full circle and completes him as a villain. Aizen's greatest weakness is the very thing that made him powerful, his belief in his own superiority. His God complex wasn't metaphorical. It was foundational to how he viewed the world. He saw others as beneath him, not out of malice, but as a fact of existence. This overconfidence blinded him. While he anticipated most actions, he underestimated two key players, Kisuke Urahara and Ichigo Kurosaki. Urahara's intelligence matched Aizen's in intricacy and patience. Unlike Aizen, Urahara didn't need recognition. He operated from the shadow and waited for the right moment to trap Aizen, using a skill that even Aizen hadn't foreseen. Then there's Ichigo, a variable Aizen believed he could control, or at least predict. But Ichigo's transformation into his final Getsuga Tensho form caught Aizen off guard. It wasn't the kind of leap in evolution that didn't follow a path Aizen could chart. And that unpredictability was something Aizen couldn't process. His fall wasn't due to lack of power. At his peak, Aizen was stronger than most characters in Bleach, but strength without humility becomes a liability. His refusal to acknowledge the value of others, to see anyone as his equal, is what allowed those people to defeat him. In this way, Aizen is both brilliant and deeply flawed.